Hey there, welcome. My name is Brandon Gum, and in this video, we're going to be following up with what we covered last time, being the global cut plane video. In this video, we're going to be talking about horizontal section cuts, how you can leverage them to assist you in creating 2D drawings from an existing 3D model. So we want to prevent as much rework as possible. We want to model once and model right, and then be able to generate, obviously, our 3D model from that in our 2D as well. We do not want to maintain both a 3D and a 2D model. So between and so I've come up with a combined workflow or strategy for doing this, and it does involve horizontal section cuts and global cut planes. So to clarify, this is for AutoCAD MEP and AutoCAD architecture. Plant 3D would be a completely different approach, and they've got some pretty slick tools over in Plant 3D that this is not applicable to that. So we'll be kind of exploring what I found to be the best and going from there. So last time in the Global Cut Planes video, we kind of outlined some of the pros and cons of using the Global Cut Plane, when it applies, and what objects that it affects. Now, if you recall, Global Cut Planes only affect AEC objects. That's architectural, engineering, and construction objects. AutoCAD has they're called tool sets in AutoCAD. They have tool sets that are that insert and create these AEC objects. So an example of this would be pipe, duct, conduit, cable tray, multi-view parts. Those are all going to be AEC objects. Now, and so, obviously things like 3D solids or, just rectangles, circles, line work, none of that will be an AEC object. Um, so as we learned last time, global cut planes only affect AEC objects, and so they do not cut things such as 3D solids. So let's give an example here. So if you were given a chiller from a manufacturer and you put it up on the second story of your building, and you do a global cut plane to cut your piping and all that jazz, everything's going to look fine except that chiller will not be affected by the global cut plane at all. So or if let's say that you have a piece of equipment that is 50 feet high, if you try to cut it using global cut planes, it's just not going to work. So your option for getting global cut planes to affect your equipment is to convert it to a multi-view part. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. We've got a few videos on multi-view parts, but I'm not the biggest fan of multi-view parts, and I'll lay out some of the reasons why. So it's very difficult to edit multi-view parts, and in some cases it can be pretty much impossible. If you need to lengthen a piece of equipment and it's already a multi-view part by, let's just say, a foot, now I have to edit the 3D block as well as all the other blocks that make up that multi-view part. So as we know, you've got that 3D entity that will be on a multi-view part that will be displayed when you are in 3D ISO mode. Now, as soon as you go to top down, left, front, or right, or bottom view, it's going to display a different block instead. So again, you need to be able to edit all of those blocks in order to use multi-view parts. So it can become quite the hassle. Additionally, now you have to have a strategy for maintaining the original 3D model that makes up the multi-view part. So you have to save that separately because you really can't edit most multi-view parts. There are ways to, and I do outline them in some of my other videos. But so I'm not the biggest fan of those. However, if you do make a multi-view part, global cut planes will work. So this strategy that we're going to show you here will be for if you have equipment and you don't want to convert everything to multi-view parts. This is a workflow that you can use. So what I've done here is I'm going to refer to these as general arrangement drawings. So I have a 3D model, and now I want to create general arrangement drawings for all my floor plans. So each level, and so we'll just zoom in here. So what I've done is I've actually referenced in this is on 2D wireframe right now. I think that's fine. I've actually referenced in a master 3D model, and what this contains is it contains only non-AEC objects. So now we do have the building in here. The building did not come from Revit, so that's why the building's in here. But then we also have equipment, and all of those are 3D solid and block based. So then what I've done is here we've created levels, and I just have them intersecting both ways so that I can see them. I can even, when I click on those, you should see it's I even put on a level layer. So I got these levels from I mean, I knew what they were based off of actual Revit models that we have of some things, but I mean, also you can clearly determine this stuff. So I put my levels in here, and so then what I did is I started making horizontal section cuts, and I'll try to do the best job I can of explaining this. So it's very important when you start working in 3D models, that you're being very cognizant of what your coordinate system is and where your base point is. And the reason why it's so important, it's because then all floor plans really should be, you should be able to take something from the second floor and bring it over to the third floor without having to measure off of the wall. You should be able to just um, base it off of 0, 0. And so all these workflows that I'm going to show you here, the entire time they're going to be cognizant of our coordinate systems. And in order to do that, what I've done here, and so shifting topics away from the horizontal section cut just momentarily, what I've done is I've drawn a box on a Geno plots layer, and that would be this box right here. And then you can see that I've also put in what I call an origin marker, which is right there. That is where the 0, 0 of this drawing is. So if I just do a line from 0, 0, we'll see that it goes right to there. Okay, and then I also then drew just this one line up to that corner. This probably is not necessary, but just as a triple check. So I've drawn this box here, and then I came in and I started cutting horizontal section cuts. So when I ask you, um, essentially, I'm going to draw my horizontal section cut, and I'm going to do my bounds just like this, corner to corner. And then I ask you when you're done, it's going to ask you where do you want to insert that point from. And so um, what I've done is essentially I copied this box right here, which should be a block. It's a block reference. Okay, so I copied that and I put it right up here. And then I copied it again 500 feet, 500 feet, 500 feet for each floor. Okay, so these are going to be my live sections up here. Live sections, meaning if I click on this, it will show this as a section. Okay, now we're going to go back to an ISO view here. And so when you draw your horizontal section cut and you get the bounds of that box correct, so I just go, you can see my vertices for this horizontal section cut are essentially lined up perfectly with my orange box. Doesn't really look like it here, but I assure you that they do. I use my levels to get the height right for them, and then we go from there. And I can actually show you that workflow here in a minute, but let's just talk about the framework and the concepts first. So I've drawn it. Now it's going to ask me, where do you want to insert that section cut? I'm then going to click at the origin point right here. And then for the next floor right there, next floor right there. Okay. Now all of these are going to all have the same origin reference. And so if I need to copy something from the second to third floor, I can, or I know that this point right here is going to line up over there if I just move it over 500 feet type of thing. That's the concept here. And we'll go over all that in more detail here in a moment. Now, so what I've done is it has created a section cut for me here. And so everything is live cut. I then copy this down by 1,000 feet. I apologize for the performance here. Copy down 1,000 feet. And then what I actually do is I need to be able to freeze my layers and adjust my layers, unfortunately, right? So I'm probably going to need to be able to show my electrical discipline is going to need to be able to target my mechanical new equipment layer, and maybe my electrical drawings want those to be on a color that doesn't plot as dark. So if I need to have control over my layers, the second step that we're going to talk about is going to help you do that. Now, if you don't need to have full control of your layers within your respective disciplines, you don't need to do this. So you copy it down here, and I literally have exploded my section box here, the section cut. So you can see up here in properties, this is a 2D section / elevation. You copy that down 1,000 feet, we explode it, then you just get line work. And at this point, you are pretty much good to go to start doing your specific trade drawings, with one caveat. And I set this up like a few months ago when I originally recorded this video. So let me check if this is set up properly. Okay, and it's not. Okay, so let's just take a look at the layer over here. So as we said earlier, the 3D model came from a master xref, and that master xref has many other drawings that it's referencing in. And apparently for this one, it was this 360 bag house. Then the actual layer this is on is M&E. Now, if you're familiar with xrefs, whenever you see a layer that is from an xref drawing, it always has this separator right here. Now, if I reference this into another drawing, what's going to happen is I'm going to be unable to actually target that layer and do anything with it. And the reason why is because it still has the xref appended on or prefix to the beginning of it. So I'm going to give you a Lisp routine that you can run that's going to get rid of that prefix, and it's going to allow you to manipulate that instead natively. That's just the only caveat here, the only nuance. I believe the very first time I recorded this, I probably showed that. So okay, to reinforce what I was talking about there, I've actually created a new drawing, just brought in the reference of this master GA right here. And so let's just pretend that this is going to be an electrical drawing, and I just need to manipulate some of the layers. So my mechanical equipment right now is going to plot very heavily. Let's just say that I need to manipulate that and make it plot light. So I'm going to change the color of that specific layer. Or maybe even I need to completely freeze the mechanical layers. With what we outlined here, it is not going to be possible to do that, and I outlined why. And so to prove that to you, when I come back in here, I'm just going to try to freeze this first. Look at it, it says that this has been frozen, but clearly we can still see it. Additionally, if I come in here and I try to change this layer, so we'll just go to this xref here, and um, I click on that. I click on that xref, the backhouse, and you can see that it even says the M&E is frozen. Clearly, it's not. So we'll unfreeze it, and then we'll change the color to 254 because that's going to plot very light for us. Resume, and even if I, it's clearly not updating. If I try to do something like with viz retain, if you think that's the issue, you'll see again that it does not work. And so again, the issue is only that it has that prefix on it with a divider. So all we need to do is just truncate that off of there, and you're good to go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can fix that with the Lisp routine. I'll provide you with the Lisp routine and show you how to run it. Then we're going to come back and I will show you actually how to create those horizontal section cuts, and I'll just reiterate anything that I feel like I really need to drive home on that. But again, everything I'm showing you here is just so that you can work with this properly. And if you think that this seems like a big workaround, the Lisp routine takes care of everything. So you literally set up the stuff on the top, and it's a quick copy paste down 1,000 feet. And then if you ever need to recut that section cut, you just come over here, you right click on it, you hit regenerate or refresh, sorry, and then we'll go about. So refresh is going to recut that section cut. Now I'm also going to go and I'm going to show you some of the settings and style manager that affect all this stuff, and we'll try to cut down on the time of this video as much as possible. So the Lisp routine I'll give you is this one. In order to load it up, all you need to do is do app load. And so I'll navigate to that here. Okay, so we'll just navigate to where that Lisp routine's at. We'll hit load on it, always load. It should tell us the name of the layer. So we'll do section layer fix. And I'm just going to do it on this one right here. All right, it's going to take just a moment. All right, and once it's done, we click on this, and you can see that it's now just on straight layer M&E. So it's truncated everything prior to that. Now, if you need to edit this and still retain the majority of the xref name that it actually is, because you need to target things differently, that's totally doable. The code's editable, so you'll have access to that. You would really just look for the key character that divides it and get rid of that. But that's a conversation for another time. Okay, so at this point, if we save this, any of our trade disciplines will be able to target each one of these layers, freeze them, change the color of them, and you can interface with these section cuts just like any drawing you're familiar with. And now you have successfully generated a 2D drawing from your 3D. Now, if you notice right now, the only thing that we've talked about is just equipment. So now we need to start talking about, well, what about piping? And so then the answer for your piping is a little bit different. And so let's see if I have that set up in here. I do not. Let me take care of that. All right. So now we're going to start covering the actual AEC side of things and combining these horizontal section cuts with our stuff that kind of we covered in the global cut plans video. So I haven't watched that video in a while, so I don't remember exactly what I covered in there, but this is going to all tie together. So I've actually unloaded my entire master xref. So my master xref just had the equipment loaded in it, and I did not have any of my piping on there, right? So here I've actually loaded up my piping, and we're actually just going to take this, and you can see the 0 point is right here. So we're just going to move this here, and we're going to move it to the origin location of all of our section cuts here. So I'll grab both of these. Okay, so what I've done here is I've taken that piping and ductwork and I've copied it along all my sections right here. And now at this point, we can actually go ahead and save this drawing and we can go into our trade discipline drawing. And that's when some of the things that I talked about in the global cut plane video are really going to come into handy, where we talk about you're going to declare a first, second, and third floor cut plane, and you're going to assign it to a specific viewport. So I actually may have that set up here. And first, what we'll do is we'll actually set display by elevation on. And I don't know if this video has been this drawing has been set up for this already. So I guess we'll find out here in a moment. All right, it appears that I have set this up. So we have first, second, and third floor layouts here, and essentially the global cut plane here should be cutting it so that all of our it's only going to affect again those AEC objects. So our horizontal section cut, we're good, we're fine. And then we have our piping over this. The horizontal section cut's going to take care of. The global cut plane's going to take care of the AEC objects. And we come over here and we look at the second. You can see that there's a lot less of the AEC objects being shown here. And then when we come to the third, looks pretty similar to the second. But regardless, you get the idea. And so with this strategy, you're able to generate the 2D from the 3D. Now, let's go ahead and talk about a few more things here that we have not addressed yet. That is going to be the settings that affect how your horizontal section cuts are actually created. Because when you do this originally, it's not going to look like this. So the place where this stuff is affected is going to be in the style manager and display manager. And so we'll just come over to display manager. And the reason why so let me explain this. The reason why we're going to use display manager over style manager is because display manager is the highest in the hierarchy to control this type of stuff. So when I select my section cut here and I hit regenerate on this, I'm going to have several options in terms of my display configuration. As we've learned about in the past, this is the display configuration. If you're not familiar with some of the stuff, I do cover it in the global cut planes video, as well as my video on troubleshooting global cut plane issues. And so if we come down here to regenerate, we're going to have several display configuration options. So I can regenerate this, and I can have it generate with a different display configuration. So right now we're on section elevation. Now if I want to make a single change for all section cut settings that's going to affect all display configurations, the place where you do that is in display manager. If you just want to affect a single display configuration style, such as thermal-tech plan or section elevation, that is when you then go into style manager. So we'll continue onward here, and we're just going to show you the number one that you're going to have issues with. And so to do this in display manager, you're going to want to come, you're not going to want to do anything with configurations or sets, most likely. You probably just want to come down here to representation by object. And this shows you, all of these are all AEC objects, which you're seeing here. So here's a 2D section and elevation. That's exactly what I want. So we'll just double click on general there. And these are the things that I can start controlling. So your settings are going to have the shrink wrap hatch set to on. And so if you cut a tank, for example, the middle of your tank is going to be hatched, this purple color is the default setting. So I don't want that, for example. I wanted that off. So I've just come over here to visibility and I turned that off. And actually, I'll see if I can pull up an example of that here in a moment. But so these are some things that you're going to want to take a look at here and double check your by block and by layer settings. So this is a pretty good example of when you have that hatching enabled. It's going to cut this tank, and it's going to cut it like that. So we'll see what I can do here with this. So there's my piece of equipment. This is how it's cut those hatches, and I'll go ahead and tweak those settings, and we'll take a look at the difference. So we'll just come up here to display manager, representations by object, section cuts, general. Double click on that, and I just really wanted to get rid of this shrink wrap hatch. How do you know that shrink wrap hatch is the one that's affecting it? Well, it's doing purple right there, and there's purple listed here, so I know it has to be that one. So we'll just do that, and it automatically takes care of it. So it's pretty much as simple as that to go ahead and affect how the stuff is working. Again, everything I just talked about there, style manager and display manager, are only for AutoCAD architecture and AutoCAD MEP. Those are style-based programs, so you're gonna have that issue. Now I will go ahead and show you here that if we take a look If we go ahead and here and take a look at Style Manager, it appears that I have two styles for 2D section cuts. I actually, to be honest with you, thought I had a lot more in that based off of the dialog box I was showing you earlier. So don't really know what's going on there. It doesn't really matter to me all that much right now. But if you know, if I needed to have two different styles of section cuts, one that displayed the hatching and one that didn't, this is where you would use that. So here, it's just pulling in the general representation that we just set in Display Manager, the global one, the parent, right? Now, if I need to have this style, this standard style, if I need to have that represent things differently than another one, I can just double click on here, and right now it's showing me all of the existing settings for the global setting in Display Manager. However, I hit Style Override. Notice how the name changed. So I'll just go back here. I double click on it. It's just going to say Drawing Default here at the top. Drawing Default. Now, if I hit Style Override, now it's going to create a name for my new override. And now if I edit any of this stuff, it's going to be different from the master, the global setting. So just be aware of some of those things. And now we're just going to come back to this drawing, and we're just going to touch on a few more things. Okay, at this point, we're just going to show you how to actually create these section cuts, and then we'll wrap it up here. So I'm actually going to delete all these, and we'll proceed. All right, so we've deleted those, and now we're ready to insert those horizontal section cuts. And essentially, we're just going to follow our prompts in here. So it's going to ask for a corner. So again, we're going to use the box that we drew. It's going to give us our extents, and it's going to help us keep our coordinate system aligned in between each cut. So we'll just go corner to corner here using our endpoint snap. Now, the next two prompts are a little trickier. I've had hit or miss success. I figured this out a couple months ago, and I don't remember exactly how it's done. You're probably going to have to edit this, and then we'll just work from there. So it's asking for a elevation of our section cut. For there, I'm actually just going to select 2 points along this line to kind of declare that mine is at, probably should just put 0 there actually. And then for now the depth of the section cut, I'm going to do something like this. I tried to do point filtering a second ago, didn't really work. That's fine. And then now it's asking for an insertion point, so we'll just do the corner of this window of this box up here. We are going to have to edit our that section cut down there. So we're just going to come down here to a front face view. We're going to make some edits, and then we're going to copy it up a couple of levels, and then we'll be done. Wrap this up. All right, so let's just we're going to need to change our UCS. As we know, if you aren't familiar with UCS, we'll need to just take a look at my video on that. Now, if you're having performance issues, just remember that you only need to do this once, and then you can completely unload your master here. As you can see, I am clearly having performance issues. And so that's just another thing to reiterate that this workflow, it's definitely applicable to smaller jobs. It's going to work great for your smaller jobs. If you're on a huge job, the performance of the 3D model is really going to just be so prohibitive that you may need to explore other options. Okay, so now our section cut has been cut correctly. I think we'll be fine there. So then I will just go ahead and copy that up a level. I'll give it like an inch of spacing between the two, and then we'll match this up to the level line. Okay, do like that. Now this does not have a we have not inserted the section, the resulting section cut for this one yet. So in order to do that, we will go ahead and just select that section box, right click, and you should find something in here that is insert section once it loads. Generate 2D section. So then at that point, it's going to ask you for your insertion point, and again, we'll choose that the edge of that box, and then again, now everything has the same coordinate system in between it, and I guess we can then finish up. I don't know if I covered this in the I probably didn't. I didn't cover this in the other video, but I'll show you this one last workflow. So we'll come back over here to what will be our electrical drawing here. And if you're having issues, you can actually unload your xref here if you need to. I would encourage you to annotate everything like I'm doing right now. So I've literally explained what this entire section is up here, and I've explained everything that I'm doing right here. Now, if this is I'm actually going to unload some xrefs. Okay, so I've unloaded my xref just for good performance. Now, if we do know that my 0, 0 point at this point is going to be right here. So if I'm doing this basement level at my plan view, what you would do is you would select this entire xref and you're going to move it over by whatever the incrementing distance is between them. So it would be 500 feet in this case. I may have covered this in global cut planes. And so now this will be our 0, 0 point. Now, if this is now and so I can check that by just drawing a line from 0, 0, 0. And you can see it's right there. Now, if this was actually then the 8-foot level right here, I would, I'd make another drawing, bring this in there, and instead I'd move it over 1,000 feet, or now it'd just be 500 feet. And what that does for us there is if I do anything on any of my electrical plans, I need to actually bring that over to the 3rd floor, 4th floor, 5th floor. The coordinate systems are the exact same, so I can do a copy paste from 0, 0 in between all of them, and everything's going to line up perfectly. With that being said, you could do a copy paste just from this origin point here, and then you know that you need to paste it over here. But it's better just to keep everything in the same stacked coordinate system, as I like to refer to it, and it just ensures that you're never going to have any issues. And so I think that for the most part really covers everything that I wanted to talk about. Again, check your style manager, display manager settings. Keep those coordinate systems intact. It's going to help you a lot. And if you have any questions on Navisworks coordinate systems and meshing all these different models together from the 3D side of things, we've got a whole library on that stuff. So just check it out. I will, in the description of the video, we'll go ahead and link in that list routine. And we'll also link in the template for this right here as well, because I think that's going to be pretty helpful for a lot of people. But this is a combined strategy for generating 2D drawings from a 3D model. And just keep in mind that if you do have these huge models, you will have difficulties doing this. And all the more reason, keep in mind the purpose of Revit. The graphics engine in Revit is far superior to AutoCAD. And I do know that they are trying to improve the graphics engine of AutoCAD, but they've been trying to do that for like the last half decade. And it's 2021, and it's still not ready. So we'll see on that. But in the meantime, hope this helps. If you have any questions, let me know.